Hello, and welcome to the EQUUS Film and Arts Fest podcast, the only program for horse lovers who have a fondness for horses in film, art, and literature. Each week, we will have interesting conversations with equestrian filmmakers, artists, and authors from around the world, discussing the nature and challenges, as well as the triumphs of creating their work. Ready to talk horses and film and the arts? Here's your host, Julianne Neal, along with Lisa Dearson, festival founder and director.
Hi, I'm Julianne Neal, your host for the EQUUS Film and Arts Fest podcast, and we're here today with our 6th episode. I'd like to introduce the founder and director of the festival, Lisa Dearson. Hi, Lisa.
Hi, Julianne. How are you? Happy February.
Oh, gosh, the year's flying by, isn't it?
No kidding. In our 6th podcast, I'm so excited.
I am too, because we started planning this back in, I guess November or so. It was this off in the distant thing. We said, we'll start it in January, and now we've already been through. So it's really exciting.
Yeah, lots of fun and exciting things are happening, and gosh, people are joining the herd, and everything just keeps growing.
Yeah, I've noticed you've done a lot of work also on the website. So if people want to go ahead and register or submit things for next year, you've got that up and running too on at least the author's part, right?
Authors, the filmmakers are ready to go. We opened up our submissions the 15th of January for all, and we're working on the art part right now. We've got some wonderful artists that we're adding this year. So it's going to be a fun and beautiful and exciting fest again.
Oh, gosh, it always is. Yeah.
Yesterday I had a really great conversation with the lady who runs the Kentucky Book Fair. So our authors this year will be part of a big annual book fair that will be happening at the same time as our festival.
Wow.
So it'll be, people will be able to see the authors from the EQUUS Corral at a pretty large book fair that'll be at the Alltech Arena while we are at the Wrigley Media Theaters. Mm-hmm. So we'll it'll be fun.
Even with the tour stops, I know that Carly Cade hosted a tour stop last weekend at the Art of the Cowgirl, and I think books were selling out there as well.
She completely sold out of her books, which is that's fabulous for our authors. And the Art of the Cowgirl is going to be a super good event for us and for our filmmakers and our authors. We showed about a 2.5-hour loop of some of our cowgirl shorts and interesting cowgirl trailers for the films that are coming in, like Bernice's film. And gosh, Bernice Envy, she's going to join us at BriarFest this year. So that'll be a lot of fun. So we'll be at BriarFest. We're going to be at Extreme Mustang Makeover and, of course, Equitana. So this is going to be, there's going to be a lot of great opportunities for our filmmakers to reach out.
Absolutely. And we're planning the Camden event now. I'm very excited. We just had contact with our independent bookstore there in Camden, Books on Broad, and they're going to host the Author's Hour and have some panel discussions with people and stuff too. So more will be coming out about that soon. But it's just going to be a great year. A lot of opportunities for everybody. So.
Well, my gosh, we've got Camden, we've got Sedona, and even though it's April and May, that's right around the corner.
Oh, I know. So, it's scary.
When we were talking about it, I've been focusing a lot of attention on getting some more titles up on our on-demand platform. So the EQUUS Film Channel has a lot of really great films being added that have been part of the film festival itself that now people can subscribe and watch at home or on their iPhone or their iPad or kind of anywhere that they can view.
And speaking of Carly Cade, she'll be the topic or the subject for one of our upcoming podcasts. But for today, we have a really exciting conversation with Candace Wade. And Candace has been involved with the festival in so many ways for many years. So how did you first meet Candace? How did y'all come in contact?
Well, I should tell you, Candace was part of our festival when it was still in St. Charles in 2014. She brought her book because I ran across her book. She reached out to join the literary corral at this festival, and I couldn't believe, because the title of the book is so funny. It's called Horse Sluts. It's just a great book. It's a lot of fun to read. She's just so near and dear to me. My gosh, I don't think the festival would be the same without her. She's grown so much since she's been part of the festival. She's a writer now for Horse Nation. She's submitted some of her articles that have been in Horse Nation that have won Winnie Awards. She's addressed topics like the walking horse soaring. That's been a really important topic for her to talk about and try to make a difference in those horses' lives. So she's just been a piece and a part of the festival that we just wouldn't be the same without her.
Oh, I agree. And speaking of the title of the book, with the first year we came to New York, Bruce walked around meeting different people in the pop-up gallery, and he came back and he had bought her book. And I was like, oh, Lord, I got to read this one pretty soon. This looks good. And sure enough, I loved it. It was the first book we bought in the EQUUS Literary Corral. So I'm excited to speak with her, and I guess we'll pass on over to that conversation now. Our first guest this morning on this episode of the EQUUS Film and Arts Fest podcast is an accomplished author, an award-winning journalist, equine journalist with Best Staff Column nominations, Essay of the Year nominations, and Essay of the Year awards, actually, an author of Horse Sluts, which is one of the most interesting titles I've seen recently. Welcome, huge welcome to Candace Wade. Candace, thank you for being with us today.
Oh, Julianne, you're very welcome. I'm honored to be here, and I listened to that, ooh, who is this person? Behind the mask, behind the curtain.
Well, I have to tell you, I was intrigued by you from the first moment I saw you in New York. I think it was 2015 at the EQUUS Film Festival, because the title of your book, Horse Sluts, caught my eye. I think I had just, been introduced to the Yah sisterhood type of thing, and I thought, now here's a book I have to read. So not at all the same thing, but it caught my eye. So how did the title, first of all, come to you, and how did the book come about?
It's an interesting question, and everything that you said is perfect for advertising, which, of course, if we want to talk anything, especially our artistic wares, you want somebody to at least be curious enough to pull it off a shelf. So, Yay, it worked. I started out riding as an older rider in my 40s and did not own a horse. And I had said one day to my friend Penny, who I met her when we moved here to Tennessee from California, and we said, well, let's take riding lessons. Let's take up horseback riding. So I thought, okay, I'd spent a lot of time staying on, not really riding when I was a child, as most of us have. And I was constantly looking for a stable, someplace to ride. You talk to somebody at a party, oh, they've got a horse. And I had said to her, I'm such a horse slut. I'll talk to anybody that has a horse. What's that person's name? Who are they? I don't know, but they've got a horse, so I'll talk to them. And it really wasn't that mercenary. But given we were clueless and constantly searching around for some place to throw our leg over a horse, we picked up the title. And, of course, living in the Bible Belt, yes, it catches attention, but it also raised some eyebrows. So I thought, okay, we need a picture that diffuses all of that. So the cover has a lot of pink on it,
right,
which apparently has not dissuaded some male people from reading it. And the cover is the two of us at some summer party with hats on and drinking G&Ts out of those. Remember those metal glasses that we used to have when we were kids in the summertime? Or at least I did.
Sure.
And so the title kind of smashed up against the picture, which I think made some people feel a little less uncomfortable with the whole concept of being a horse slut.
Right.
So that was the title. That's where it all started, not knowing anything of really what we were doing. Don't the angels protect what children and idiots. And
yes.
when I look back on it now, I thought I could have been dead so many times, but I was just too stupid to know it.
Oh, gosh.
Which then leads to what I'm doing now is really taking lessons with somebody who knows what they're doing, starting from absolute scratch, actually several times starting from scratch. Because what I know now from what I was doing then, I was really lucky, and I owe apologies to every horse that I came anywhere near. And I know a lot of people have said that. It's sort of trite, but it's true.
Well, the reason I saw as it says, the Saga of Two Women on the Trail of Their Yeehaw. And at the time, a couple of friends of mine, we were, 40s and older women, and here we are out competing against the 10-year-olds in a combined test or whatever. I'm in the amoeba tadpole class or whatever. And
right.
So we felt the same way. The horses put up with us because we were just out there not really knowing a lot, not, learning as we go as far as the eventing world. And so the book really struck me later, reminding me of those times with my friends. And so
what I tried to do, and we, in all fairness, okay, Penny and I experienced together, and we would sit and talk about, do you remember the time when we blah, 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 sit in the pool and, oh, do you remember this? And had said, this should be a book. That what I will try to share with writers writing about anything, but let's say specifically writing about their horse experiences. Yes, all of our lives are so fascinating to ourselves, and the older we get, the more fascinating we get. And I actually have a chapter in the new book about how we become our worst nightmares of rambling on, and the stories get longer and longer. It's, like David Lean movies, every little nuance is so fascinating to us. And God, please don't let me see anybody's eyes rolling up and their foot tapping, as they're probably doing right now. But I would never think that I could teach anybody to ride or teach them anything other than as an example of an older rider who is not competing, who's an ever student. That's my thing at Horse Nation. I'm the ever student older rider or mature rider. I can't think of a better name. Mm-hmm. Everything's been taken. But if I can do this, you can too. If I take these lessons or make this jump past an anxiety, and then once I get out of the farm and go to Kroger's, and nobody's going to get in front of me in Kroger's because I ride a horse and I've got my half chaps on and my little boots, and I feel good. It's so much cheaper than psychological help, and you get exercise, and it teaches you how to take care of your body, which we all need as we get older. But it puts that color back in your cheek, and it gives the power back that I think as mature people, men and women, but especially women, we start handing out the me of us, and everybody can find their way of doing it. For me, it's horses, and it's such a kind and exciting way to do it that it's not that I make fun of myself, Julianne. It's just, okay, no, I'm not the level 3 or level 4 dressage rider, or flying around the arena jump courses. I'm constantly starting over, but I get out of there happy and excited, and I'm really kind of a solitary person more now as I've gotten older, that I can do this quietly by myself. I can practice by myself. I can take my lessons with my beloved instructor. But you were mentioning the young people, and so many of them, I call them riding since embryos. As soon as they've got legs, somebody put them up on a horse. That's mm-hmm. not me. Mm-hmm. But these young people, at least where I am, are so lovely and so willing. It's taught me how to ask for help, which again, as a mature person who's been in business, it's really hard to admit that. I could admit it with these people. I can't twist and bend over and clean rear hooves. I don't want to admit my weakness, but I'll say, hey, can somebody help me with Amber's back feet? I can do her front, but it's a hard angle for me. Oh, all these darling little barn bunnies come running up. Yes, I'd be glad to. Oh, let me do that for you. Do you want me to do this? Do you want me to do that? or how was your day today? Here's Miss Candace. Here's Miss Candace. And their parents probably never asked them advice. I can take the time to say, okay, you've ridden Amber before. I'm having trouble with her shoulder popping out. Did you have that experience? Well, they just bubble over with all this experience. And I think, okay, now that child's going to go skipping off into her day, feeling as though she matters and she helps some old crone over there at the barn.
Yes.
And we're all happy. And Amber's happy. The horse is happy because now I know how to deal with her. What's better than that?
Exactly. Well, I teach high school, and so it's the same thing. As we're doing all this tech stuff, the kids are showing me way more than I know already. So we're learning from them.
Thank you for teaching. Yeah. Thank you for doing that.
Well, it's special.
You should earn as much as the football players and the basketball players.
Oh, thanks. Well, it's not as hard on my body as one thing, so I guess they're racking up some of that. So, but yeah, thank you. Well, and like you said, Bible Belt, living here now, you're originally from the West Coast, L.A. or whatever. Were you riding out there? How did you end up in the South anyway?
Everybody loves that question. I thought, okay, I'm going to steer her away from that.
Oh,
but no,
we don't have to talk about it. But...
What do you do? You lived in L.A. and San Francisco, and the next progression is Columbia, Tennessee.
Right,
are you in witness protection? What are you doing out here? And in all fairness, yes, living in the country in Columbia, Tennessee was a joy when we took this adventure, and now we live a little closer to Nashville because we still have city, urban taste with ballet and restaurants and that kind of thing. So we live in Franklin, which is about 20 minutes door to door to the Playhouse and the ballet and great restaurants. And Franklin's terrific too. Okay. Mm-hmm. So LA girls, definitely 1950s LA girl, beach girl. Riding, my sister was the horse crazy one. I liked horses. I love all animals. Kids love animals. Yeah, I liked horses, but I wasn't one of those little horse kids. And then moved to San Francisco. And during those periods, especially in LA when I was in Brownies and Girl Scouts, there's an area called Griffith Park in Los Angeles. And there were these stables with, these poor horses, these darling horses, where you'd pay $8 or $9 and they put you on a horse and they send you out by yourself. Can you imagine that? Out into this trail area, and there were people trotting and cantering all over the place. Screams could be heard through the woods, and I was out there too. And then 2 days later, of course, you can't walk because you don't know how to ride, and you're bouncing all over the place. And I don't really consider that riding now. I consider that managing to stay on. Mm-hmm. So a little of that, Palm Springs. I did take a couple of English riding lessons in the Malibu Hills, which was, I wish I had photographs of it now. I really did because I liked the clothes, and I thought I'll look really sharp. And I was kind of a West Coast person that admired everything East Coast. I was an LL Bean, yuppie puppy that I always wore LL Bean clothes because I wasn't going to be LA girl. Mm. And I remember on the second lesson that we had, and the instructor said, okay, now we're going to jump. Okay, I know squat, right? And now we're going to jump. And all she said was, okay, get the horse and do a trot and then just lean forward. So I did, and I didn't know how far to lean forward or when to lean forward, but as the horse's neck came up, my nose came down, and I was about a millimeter away from a nose job. And I thought, no, I don't think this is for me. So I stopped. Mm-hmm. And then we were living in San Francisco and having a really great time. But again, being an LA person, I thought I still can wear shorts and a sundress. There has to be some place that isn't foggy all the time before my thighs turn to concrete and I just look terrible. So what are our options? And we had come to Middle Tennessee for research on a writing project I was doing. I learned how to write screenplays, learned how to write them, not necessarily write them in a way that anybody would buy them, but that's okay. It taught me writing skills.
Sure.
And we came out, and I fell in love with Middle Tennessee. It was it was beautiful. It looked like horse country, rolling hills, lots of space. I'm a tall woman, so I liked room to swing my legs and my arms and be more me. And I got tired of people parking in my parking space in San Francisco, and you'd say to them, hey, you're blocking my parking space. Well, only a little bit. Well, is that like being a little bit pregnant? Go ahead, leave the car there. When you come back, it'll be gone because I'm calling the cops. And I thought, I don't want to live this way. And I loved San Francisco, but we're young. Let's take an adventure. So my darling husband, bless his sweetheart, said sure, and we sold the house. And sounds like the opposite of the Beverly Hillbillies. And we moved to Middle Tennessee. We chose this small town because we had met some people there when we came to visit, and it was rich with all kinds of war between the states, as they call it, history. Mm-hmm. And we bought a quirky house that was a nightmare, and had a lot of fun. So we moved to Middle Tennessee, and I decided that I wanted to do something that made me feel that I was trying the culture rather than eating okra, and I can't stand sweet tea. It's too sweet for me. I'm a California person. We don't put stuff like that in our tea. And I decided to take up horseback riding. So I hope that explains it.
Yes,
I don't know. It just seemed like a good idea at the time, Julianne. And given the cost of living and how lovely it is here and that there's no traffic and I've got enough money in my wallet that I can get to our sweet little airport and get out of here and go to a big town if I want to, it's really worked out. I'll always be a Californian, but it's been a gas. It was a good decision.
That's great. Well, you can tell you fit right in the way, it's a 20-year time for you in Middle Tennessee or so, right?
Yeah.
So obviously, you're happy.
Who would have
there.
thunk it, as my mom would say.
Well, and you're also a dog person, I take it. I've seen, is it Lucia?
Lucha, Pucha Pucha, or Luciana Paparotti.
Well, I saw one of your articles was even about, moments of enlightenment when you're walking your dog. So, I could tell that country life seems to appeal to you. So,
yes, she teaches me how to ride, and that's what one of the things I do. Okay, I've written for a few magazines that have wide. This Horse Nation has wide exposure, but people know dressage today. There was another magazine that paid me an obscene amount of money for something that was sort of horse related. I had taken polo lessons. I thought, well, if I'm going to write about horses, I have to try everything. Mm-hmm. And boy, they really made me work for it. Horse Nation is a lovely online magazine, and they allow me to cover the things that really get me up in the morning. And one of them is to be able to communicate with mature riders and be enthusiastic, and we can all laugh at ourselves, and I'll be the first one to laugh. The other one is the Tennessee walking horses, which I learned about when I moved here because I didn't know about the Big Lick Tennessee walking horses and that whole thing. And rescue. But I started out, we've always had dogs. I think I thought I was a dog when I was a kid. And yes, when we moved here, we brought our doggie Lucy with us, and we're big dog walkers. It's exercise. They need to walk. Throwing them in the backyard is not the way a dog lives, and it's not how you build your pack.
Right.
And when I first started writing, I wrote pieces in the Columbia Herald called Hillary's View, because Hillary had her own voice. She was part pit bull and black lab, and she could say things that I probably wouldn't say in a southern community, and she can say it the way she wants to say it, and people actually liked it, and children would recognize her in the square until Hillary took on a political issue, a local political issue, and the editor had said, well, dogs can't talk about politics. Oh. And I said, you actually think that she writes this? And he just looked at me and he fired me. So I started out with the dogs. And when I walk her, getting back to what you said, okay, I'm going to diverge. one of the chapters that I just wrote in something new that I'm writing is called Plums. And what I find, and I recommend to all of us, if we're specialists and we just look at what's in front of us, and this includes horseback riding, you miss everything else that's going on around you. One, you can get thrown because you didn't notice the egret that was taking off. Sure. But there are other things, of course, that goes on with the horse and in your body. Living life, if you're just focusing in one area, you miss a lot of other stuff that's going on. And as a writer, okay, I'm going to write a chapter about X. I'll read something completely unrelated, and all of a sudden I get smacked in the head with something, oh my gosh, this fits in here. I understand what they're saying, and I consider those plums that kind of roll in front of us if we're paying attention. And one of them was when I was walking the dog and how I was holding her leash and not gripping it, but being there ready if something happens like you do with your reins. Where you are as a leader when you're walking your horse, or how you're sitting it, where you need to be a leader, not skiing along behind your dog, which empowers the dog, or if the horse is dragging you around, empowers the horse. We do need to be the ones that they can count on to lead. And I can go on, and you're a horsewoman, and I hope, and I know that your listeners are horse people, that you could find parallels there. Not getting all wound up. If a dog comes up and your dog starts growling or barking, if you raise your voice and start screaming, that exacerbates the whole situation. Thank you, Susan Milan. I've had to learn to bring my voice down, to calm down. If my horse is doing something that all of a sudden I start going, oh God, I'm going to die. Well, he's not going to trust me because he can feel I'm tense. I've got to take a deep breath. So yes, besides my beloved riding instructor, Lucy has been an amazing, every day, several times a day, riding instructor on how to interact with an animal in a pleasant but in control, you can trust me way. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. And you mentioned in that same article, consistency. It's the same thing with the dogs as it is with the horses. There's no Sunday, holiday, whatever. You can do this today because I just feel like you can do this today. But it's all the same concepts. Absolutely.
Thank you for taking the time to read that. It was a goofy one. It wasn't a multi-thousand hit, but hey, like I said, with Horse Nation, the walking horse political stuff gets lots of hits. There was a rescue / walking horse thing, got lots of hits. Slaughter everything. It was a big soup of all kinds of things that people care about. But then they'll let me write the goofy. All right, she's the mature, ever student writer. Go ahead. She'll let me do it, because if somebody thinks about it, maybe they'll be a better dog walker, and maybe they'll try to learn more rather than just at the barn, but as they're walking around in the world.
Exactly.
So they're a lovely group, and I adore them.
This episode of the EQUUS Film and Arts Fest podcast is sponsored in part by Nature's View, the Marley Project, and JA Media Productions. To learn more about what we do, visit naturesview.us. I just love that you have a varied writing background, because it's articles for them or Mature Lifestyle or Dressage Today or whoever, but then also your books. And you mentioned Big Lick and the whole Tennessee walking horse thing. I think what I also respect so much about you, the first time I met you at the EQUUS Film Festival in New York years ago, you were also moderating a panel about that whole topic, about Big Lick and everything. So you do your research so much and so well, and you know how to ask the right questions, and and bring those conversations to the stage, and that's so important. So how did you become a moderator for the panel type things? Is that something you've done before a lot, or did Lisa just corral you into doing
Lisa, why would you ask that question?
I thought I'd give it the
Lisa calls, can you do some brain surgery? Yeah, Lisa, sure. You think I can do? Sure, I can do it. Give me the scalpel.
She's good at that, isn't she?
Oh, gosh. Okay, how did that happen? Well, first of all, let me say that I have to learn how to take some credit graciously. That's one of my New Year's resolutions, is I always want to pass it on to other people. But with the help of some people who are really knowledgeable that have been in this whole Big Leg walking horse thing for a long time, actually from the first film festival, somehow somebody was on a panel and then talked to somebody else and says, you need to meet this person, this woman, because I think she can write the story of this horse that you have. And that started with Theo, and then it all rolled from there. But what I try to do, because I am not an expert, I try to stand on the outside and be an observer and listen and watch, use my good sense and see what's going on, but have people who really know what they're talking about, the farriers, the people that have rescued the horses, to just shut up and listen to what they have to say. And then before I put anything out, I make sure that I'm understanding it. And I'm not the Charlie McCarthy for the puppet master. I've got a brain. I know what's going on here. But I know they know, and I want to get it right for the horses. So thank you for that, and I appreciate it. And I guess that's my voice in it when I'm talking to somebody about rescue or talking to somebody about slaughter. I want to hear what they have to say rather than cherry pick what I feel and what I want to hear and to express. So we all have, if we're writers, we have a voice, we have a direction in which we stand before we write something or as we're writing something. And I'm the observer. Gee whiz, I don't know, but it looks kind of crazy to me that we're doing this. Let's find out why.
Right.
As far as moderating, I'm one of those weird people that actually love giving oral presentations. I used to be in sales. I used to have to give them to a bunch of scary guys that were my bosses from New York and New Jersey, and where I saw the salesmen just crumbling. I could tell they wanted to die. I'd march up there, cute little blonde at 29 years old, thought I owned the world. We were all there, right? At 29 and 30, we know everything, right? Yes, and so I was good at it, and I like that. How I became a moderator, I actually trying to remember. I remember that Lisa, it was my first time there, and I just kind of stumbled into New York with the book, called her by accident. And I was on a panel of writers, and I remember that I considered many of them esteem, and some of them were so completely out of my realm. Feng shuiing your barn, and how my horse taught me how to divorce my husband, and it's all this kind of high intellectual stuff. And it came to me, I wrote a book called Horse Sluts, and I just kind of looked at it like, I don't know what I'm doing here, because these people have PhDs on feng shuiing their barn. And I wrote a book on horse sluts. What do you want to know?
That's
but
great.
There was something going on with the Tennessee walking horses. There was a panel, and maybe I was the only one left in the room, and she said, would you host this panel? I said, sure. Okay, put me out there.
Well,
so I studied the people that were going to be on it, and I think that I'm trying to remember the name of the woman. She's an attorney for the Humane Society, and there was a doctor and a couple others, and I don't know, I just did it. And then I guess Lisa thought that I didn't embarrass her too much, and then the next year she said, ooh, would you do more?
Yeah.
So I took it upon myself to try to find a bunch of people, and did, and I'm trying to remember, was that the one that broke into fist fight?
That one was the second year.
Was that the one you saw?
Yes. And
wasn't that fun?
It was a shock to me, and that's the thing. I just so respect you, and like I've watched you and Diana DeRosa, who do all these things where they're hard topics, and I'm the one that's horrified. I wouldn't fight anybody for anything. I just I'm sitting back watching, but what I really respect about all of it is that Lisa gives those opportunities for both sides to come together, and it might come to fisticuffs, but it's like she's given opportunities for people to have those hard conversations, and it not just about the Tennessee walking horses, but carriage horses, working horses, all these different things. And so, like you said, giving everybody the opportunity to see for themselves Here, give it your best shot. Convince me.
May I, since you brought Lisa and the EQUUS Film Festival, which now I guess we're the EQUUS Film and Arts Festival.
Yes.
May I say something about that?
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, first of all, Lisa Dyerson is the most amazing, energetic, enthusiastic person that I've ever met, and she puts muscles in your arms in your soul. She makes you feel that you could do anything. She makes you feel appreciated. She wants to pull everybody in to help everybody else, and as she calls it, create a herd. But what I will say about this film festival, and again, I kind of fell into it, is, as you said, Julianne, it was a vehicle for all kinds of information having to do with equine, and just all. Mm-hmm. The rescue portions, everybody gets a chance, and with the rescues, they get a stipend, they get a little money if they win. It brought all these artists together, and unfortunately, the first two film festivals, I really didn't get to see many of the movies. I watched some of them on the video link because I was sort of working it. And this last one in Kentucky, I got to see more. So many of the movies, the films, the shorts, the music videos just bring me to absolute tears. They educate me, things that I didn't know was going on. There's so many people out there doing amazing things. When I start to feel, oh my gosh, we're never going to make anything better here. And I see, and this is with writing too and interviewing these people, there's so many huge souls out there that are trying. I thought I would go to a slaughter sale once, and I know that I couldn't. I know I'd be in hospital, and then I'd be no good. Mm-hmm. So we all do what we can do. Lisa brings everybody together with their film, their books, their canvas art, their music, the writers that want to learn, the educators. She can do that. The rescue people that I meet, that I've found on my own when I was writing, there are things that they know how to do, and they can do it, and we can support them I can support them by putting it out there so people know. Sometimes it's not all about money. We all do what we can do. Lisa pulls everybody together, and I have come out of there so exhausted with honor and thrill and education and wanting to know more. And this last time, my husband, who rides with me, but he's a guy, how guys are, he came out of some of the films and some of these lectures or the panels saying, my life has been changed. I almost fell down in the parking lot, guys saying this. My life has been changed. I want to approach my schooling horse in a different way. No, I don't own him, but I want to try. Julianne, if one person comes out of the EQUUS Film and Arts Festival saying, I want to do better for my horse, I want to do better for my local rescue, I'm not going to breed my horse because there are horses out there that need homes, and what am I going to breed, right? Mm-hmm. Instead of buying a horse, I'm going to adopt one and help this person help another horse. If one person comes out of there, it's worth $1 gazillion, and yep. This is what the film festival is to me. And I know there was a little kerfuffle a couple of years ago with one, and a friend of mine and I were on different sides of it. And my thought is, we need to talk about everything. We need to be there with everything. I understand everybody's ethics, and this is not about me, but if I'm willing to go there and go toe to toe with this 6'5" cowboy who actually did admit he was wrong when he accused me of something, and I'm not a fighter. I don't want to fight. I'll fight if I have to. Like my mom said, even a rabbit will fight when it's at its end. Everybody needs to make their decision, and my decision is I want to support this because there's so much good that comes out of it. There's so much education that comes out of it. And, hey, man, if I can stand there and talk to this guy who's glaring in my face, I can't go to a slaughter sale. I don't have the moral courage to do this. but I can do something else. And I'm rambling, but I feel really passionate about this. I think the film festival is an amazing thing. I don't know how she does it. I really don't. So I think all of us that participate want to do our best.
Right.
Because she works so hard.
Exactly. And I agree 100%.
I'm going to cry.
No, I agree because like you said, there have been, films that have come in. There have been people that have been sponsors. There have been other things that, Bruce and I felt the same way. I want to go and meet these people. I want to, here's the one chance in my lifetime that I'm going to have to ask somebody a hard question. And if I have the nerve to go do it, by all means. So, and
the fellow with whom we trail ride up at Big South Fork, Guy, he is total guy. Larry McMillan is just amazing. I love riding with this man. We ride flat shod Tennessee walking horses. The terrain, I look at it now and I thought, really, should I be out there? He is amazing, and he came this last time. But when he saw his panel members, they were long riders and trail riders. And he looked at them, and they're all amazing, wonderful people. But Larry's such a, bigger than life guy. And he looked at me and he said, "Oh, wow, I'm in really in august company here. What do I have to say? How can I do it?" And there was Bernice. Oh. There was the darling guy. I think his name was Ryan that rides the Gobies.
Yes.
There were these people, but everybody was interested and supportive. I think they all wanted to go riding together. So
right.
If you can, I'm not putting women down, Julia, but okay, we're soft touches. I watch this video and I'll cry and sit in the corner. But when a guy, a horse guy, a country mountain guy, when he says, "Oh my gosh, these people, they're amazing," Bernice and what she does. And
exactly.
Well, how thrilling is that? It changes everybody's life, even if it's an infinitesimal way. So, I'm doing it again.
Well, no, and your husband, I sat in the back of one of the panels, and your husband really got into a conversation with some people, and they were asking questions back and forth, and it was great. And Bruce, my partner, sits in the back, and he watches every film, and he'll come out and say, this is. Oh. Yeah, and we haven't had films in this before, and he's a clinician with the festival too, but he'll go and watch and say, "This one made me really think," or you need to see this one, it's going to make you cry. And so he's always right.
Yeah.
That he knows which ones are going to get to me, but it's do
you remember the
exciting.
Spaghetti Cowboy guy?
Oh yeah, Sonny, and I never say his last name right, but Sonny Garigolo. Anyway,
yeah, when
I know
lots
who you
of
mean.
D's and I's and things. Right. I sat with one or two of them in the panel. My brain just went dead. I think it was Jan that was doing it, and it was the starving horses down in Florida.
Yes.
The woman that does the dressage, and she also takes in these starving horses.
Yes, horses without
humans.
And
it'll come to me. I was assured that it ends well, because I said, "I don't think I can do this. The picture just destroys me." She said, No, you need to come.
Right.
So he and I sat in the back, and I'm, of course, a puddle, just dripping all up my nose, my eyes. And I was sitting next to, I don't think it was Enzo. It could have been Tony. I can't remember. But I could feel him. I could feel the emotion coming off his body. Can I say actually that he was crying? I don't know. But there were a couple little nose wipes going on. Mm-hmm. And the film, the rescue film, did end in a hopeful way, and I'm glad I sat through it. And I told Bill, "Oh, you've got to watch this one.
I think that
and it'll be all right. You've got to watch it."
I think it was Yvonne
again.
Bartow.
One of these.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's the one, Yvonne. If it moves people, that's what art is all about. But I think that's what horses are about too. If you're going to do it and spend all the money and spend all your time doing this and mucking out stalls, they unless it's all about money for you and you're just using them as mopeds, they move you.
Yes.
And the film festival allows all of us to come together and just savor each other and jump all over each other. And did you see this? And how about that? And what are you doing here? And oh, that sounds like fun. And I have a friend, she's now my Irish sister, June, that I met at that first film festival that I attended. She's in County Down, Ireland, and she's an eventer. And she has a horse farm. And she and I just fell in love with each other. And Bill and I went last spring and stayed with her on her horse farm.
Gosh.
And then she came out in December after the film festival and met us in Washington, D.C., and we spent 4 or 5 days together tooling around D.C. together before she went back home to be with her husband and her family. I've got a new sister who lives in Northern Ireland because I got out of the house. I learned to ride. I got out of the house, went to Lisa's Film Festival, and didn't lurk around the corner, talk to people.
Yes. New friends, and that's so special.
Hi, I'm Lisa Dearson, director of the EQUUS Film and Arts Fest. Please stay tuned. We'll be right back.
And with that, I'm going to ask you sort of a personal question. Not personal, but I had a little compilation type of film that we put together that was a tribute to a very special man, Carl McCulka, who's the former head writer for the Spanish Writing School, just a really special person. And I'm training with Mary Werning, who's a Camden, South Carolina dressage trainer who was his longtime student, knew him well. And so we've put together, because of Mary and Anita Adams, who was his working student for many years, we put together sort of a tribute after he passed. And so you, I think, saw it or saw a trailer for it online or something and reached out. And
Yes.
it was really touched my heart and made me ask, how in the world did you know Carl? And did you ride with him, train with him? Did you meet him? What was the connection there with Carl?
Oh, how lovely of you to ask that. First of all, your film, I was sorting through and I saw it because people who know him. Mm-hmm. The rest of the world, I didn't. They don't know. Shining in its own corner, and there it was. And I know that he had passed away recently. And your film was exquisite. The sound of his voice, the pictures. I've seen some of the pictures, and he had sent some stories to me, but I hadn't seen all of them. And I was thrilled and really moved by how you handled the material. And then, like you, I was curious, how in the world did this come about? How did you know about it? So how did I meet Carl? A person that I met, I have to do this delicately because some people don't want to be out there in the world,
right.
I appreciate that.
Definitely.
Somebody that I met out here, I believe that she had trained with him, but she had built a dressage arena, an indoor arena, for him to be able to come and teach. Because as you know, he went around the country and for a long time around the world to teach. I know he was out in California.
Mm-hmm.
And he would come out a couple times a year. I don't ride dressage. I'm trying a little bit now because I know it's the basis of good equitation. So I'm trying everything. And so I didn't ride with him, but I was invited to come and watch. And I said, sure, I'll bring lunch and I'll come and watch. So I crept up to the top of the arena. There was a little viewing stand, and there was this darling, feisty, fiery little old guy training these people. And he looks up and he how his voice was, who's that? Are you a spy? And I said, yes, I am a spy. He said, okay. And he continued, and I kept my mouth shut and just watched. And I was invited then every time that he'd come out, and we would all have lunch. I'd bring lunch, and I know that he liked olives, and he wasn't really doing very well, so I would bring olives, and he liked olives. And I just got to be a hanger-on. I just got to, shut up and be a sponge and listen. And I was fascinated by him, especially his childhood history and during and after World War II, and then his father and how his father was involved with horses. And I guess I was just kind of new and not, licking his boots or anything. What the heck did I know? Mm-hmm. So he would send some of his stories because he was going to write a book.
Right.
And that's how I got to know Carl and got to meet Carl and was honored that he would trust me enough to send some of the stories, that I wouldn't do anything with him. It was just a person between person.
Yeah.
He knew who I was, but I wasn't one of his people like who, you and what you're talking about. So that's how I met him, and I think the thing that he liked about me is I was actually more interested in his childhood history and the repercussions of World War II and his experiences with the American soldiers than one more person wanting to hear about the Spanish riding school and dressage. Yes, I wanted to hear that, but I loved what he had to say, or I wanted to know about what he had to say about his history as a child and post-war.
Mm-hmm. And some of those stories are just really, I do hope that the book ends up coming out someday. And he must have really trusted you to send stories like that. And I've heard so many people talk about how intimidating he was or whatever, but, it was a gruff but so funny sense of humor underlying it, that even through the gruffness, that the humor was always ready to come out if you could just kind of listen past it. And just such a special person.
Julianne, did you feel? My sense was he really cared about the horses.
Oh gosh,
he really cared and respected the horses. And one of the reasons why he could be so tough on people is because if the person didn't get it right, it was hard on the horse.
Exactly.
You can tell me if I'm wrong and just romanticizing.
Oh no, I truly believe that. And for everything to be done correctly, and we throw classical training, the term classical training, around all the time now, but he epitomized the theory behind and the words, it meant something to him. So to be able to talk to people like Mary and Anita, who spent so much time with him, I just was lucky he would come and do clinics in South Carolina, a couple of times a year. And from all the way back in the 90s, I had a Hanoverian mare that was kind of difficult for me, and I would do some clinics and things with him, but then I was always the one who, something happened and I couldn't ride her anymore. So I was always starting with a new horse. So I never got past like second level stuff, but he would come in and all of a sudden we're working on beginning steps of Piaffe or whatever. And not that I was going to be able to sustain that, but he was this inspiring figure, and just the whole system, everything about the way he trained and taught. And for me to be able to still learn things like that from Mary all the time, it's so special. So
how did you feel when you were doing it? I can't even imagine.
Oh, I didn't. I'd never even thought, when I first was going for a clinic, my friends were riding already with Mary, and I decided I had read an article about him in Dressage Today or whatever, and they said, come on and take this clinic. And so I did, and it changed my life. I mean,
Boy, are you brave. Woo!
Well, and it was counting, I was fascinated by knowing when to ask for the canter transition, when this foot has been down, and shifting your weight here and there. And I loved all of that. And I was a foolish amateur event rider at the time. And I realized that, falling off on a cross-country fence is not what I need to be doing as I get older. I'm not healing like I used to. But dressage always fascinated me anyway. So it was it was life-changing. And my mare was kind of difficult. And so it was just a different way of doing everything, and it changed it. So
I love it. To add this, but you might know it. We all think we know things other people don't. Is one of the articles that I wrote. I think it was dressage. It was Dressage Today. It was about a rescue horse that a gal from the Humane Society had taken on, and Carl was involved with the rehab of this horse. And I have a couple of quotes in that I was allowed to use when he assessed the horse and was, okay, let's see what we can do with this. And I saw the results of the training pattern that he used with this horse to heal this horse. And I guess that's another reason why, not having ridden with him, that I thought he really cared about the horses. Mm-hmm. The other thing that I was told was one of the rescues about which I have been writing is Horse Plus Humane Society here in Tennessee. Mm-hmm. That was, if not his favorite, one of his favorite rescue organizations, and it's one of the reasons why I sought them out to find out what they were doing, because he really believed in what they were doing.
That's awesome.
The impression that he could be, all he is about, old school dressage and, whip and beat people and, all the rest of that. I really felt that from those little anecdotes that he really cared about the horses.
Oh yeah.
So in some way, yeah, he did change my life. He affected me, even though I never rode with him.
That's wonderful. Well, and that was a personal just inquiry from me, just wondering. And thank you for the kind words about the film. But I have to say, people just sent me stuff for that. We reached out and said, if you have, memories of Carl, and Anita and Mary kind of decided, let's send this to so and so and so and so. And we had wonderful people respond, and it wasn't.
You put it together beautifully, and as you know, editing is part of writing, and how you brought it together, put it together, and then you did it and presented it matters in the world.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. Well, with all of that said, I have to ask about, so I've seen that you have some books in progress, and
yes.
My hands are not attached to my ass. Sounds to me like it's going to be another really interesting one. It's Beyond Horse Sluts, right? Is it a continuation? Right. Is it sequel, part 2?
No, actually it's not. And that actually gets into kind of a hard emotional thing. Mm. I'm going to put this, okay, let's try to net this out. One, as I said, these plums come, and because I am an older rider, a mature rider, that not everything makes sense to me. And as a mature woman, it has to. If I'm going to do it, I just don't take orders. I got to know my motivation here and why. Mm. So as I'm writing and trying to figure things out, I find maybe I'm just entertaining myself, but thoughts come to me that's like all these aha moments that I absolutely love. And my writing instructor is very patient with me when oh my gosh, it's blah, 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 blah. It's not making a cake, it's making sauce. Which is, what are you talking about? And I'll explain in a minute, but I was doing something that had to do with jumping, and she was trying to help me do something. And I went, oh my gosh, my hands are not attached to my ass. And she's again, what are you talking about? So, okay, Horse Sluts. Love it. Everything that had to do with Horse Sluts, I loved it. And the friendship with my girlfriend Penny, and we're still very, very close. But I'm a person that needs to keep progressing, and just continuing to have those stories or those experiences, to have those stories mean that I wasn't learning to ride in a more efficient way. I wanted to learn equitation. And if you are improving and doing better and knowing better than what you did before, you can't be a horse sled anymore. Mm. And I had searched to find a new barn in which to ride when the old barn closed down, and several barns closed down, because I was really serious about this. I was going to spend the money, keep trying, and I really wanted to learn really, really, really how to ride, because it wasn't making sense. That means that I'm not a horse sled anymore, because I'm really, really trying to learn this and not just ride with the seat of my pants. It was fun. I still love all that stuff, but it's kind of leaving your old self and an old life, and not an old friendship, but the way we were with horses behind, and it's painful. As I said, we're still really, really good friends, but now I've kind of gone off on my own on this, and I'm learning. Mm. So it is beyond horse sluts. I'm not doing horse slutty stuff anymore. God,
right,
that sounds so awful. They may not let you print this, yeah. But I want to learn. I'm just sucking up everything I can to learn more and be better, and not be quite so, filled with anxiety when I try something new, and these little plateaus that I absolutely love, and I'm doing it on my own. Mm. So this title was one that was a huge revelation for me, because everybody needs to learn to ride in their own way. And some people say the dressage people, if you're going to do dressage, you don't get out of a walk for the first 20 years of your life. And I respect all of that. But what I've found, if I try all kinds of things, even at a low level, that they build upon each other, including, let's say, jumping. And we're not talking tall things, there's small things, but there's a body position. There's something you need to do with your heels and your hands. You don't just come forward like that rider said to me in Malibu Hills. There's a fold that you do that has to do with the weight distribution. And I'm a preparer ever since I was a kid in school. If there was going to be a culmination paper due, I got it done the first day of school. I just don't wait. Mm-hmm. So when it comes to jumping, and you need to gather your reins, and you need to come up at a certain time, and you come over, and then you sit back down, and I'm still working on the timing. Hey, man, I was really prepared. I got my reins all gathered up, and I'm standing up, and I'm about 12 miles from the jump. And she said, you're preparing too early. And, in dressage turns and going from fast to slow or whatever, you want to be mentally prepared, but you can't do it too early because that's not what you're supposed to do.
Right.
So I said, but I have to do all these things at once. So she said, okay, I'm having trouble gathering my reins. She said, while you're sitting and coming up to it, practice gathering your reins. In fact, practice gathering when you're just walking and trotting around, gathering up your reins, letting them go, gather them up, let them go, gather them up, and move your arms so you're not in his mouth. And then when it's time, you come up. I went, oh, my God. Oh my gosh, my hands are not attached to my ass. The whole thing doesn't have to happen at once for me as a baby novice. I can start gathering, move my hands up so I'm not in his mouth, so I'm ready and I don't have loopy reins. And then when it's time, I can fold over, come up and fold over, gather them a little more if I need to do, and then when I come down, relax the whole thing. And that's what it is. I kept responding to this simple action that my hands and my ass were attached. If my hands are gathering up, then my ass has to come out of the saddle. And to me, it was amusing. And I thought anybody who's learning this, especially as an mature woman's mind, how do I do all this? And I want to make sure I'm prepared. I've got myself all in a tizzy. It doesn't have to be that way. There are ways for you to do it in a gradation, and then as you get better, it becomes smoother.
Natural, yes.
And if someone else thinks I'm a complete idiot, that's okay. I don't care. It works for me, and it relaxed me, Julianne, and it made me laugh, and it gave me permission to do it in pieces rather than, okay, we're going to gather it all up together. And I was just this tense ball, and then I would forget to sit down again. And if you're out in the field, and you're still standing there all gathered up, riding around. You can sit down now. It's like, oh, God, my brain. So I thought, funny. Okay, if I can express these little revelations that move me forward, that give me progress, I can laugh at myself, but I'm riding better, and share it, not as, oh, aren't I brilliant? I'm a wonderful writer, and I have such a way of words, and everybody's going to love me. It's, okay, I'm this goofball, but I'm trying. And maybe you've had the same experience, just like with crotch bumps in Horse Sluts.
Yes.
You may not have thought of it that way, but everybody at one time has had that problem in that part of their body. So, all right, I'm going to talk about it. And it's either going to work or it doesn't, but it entertains me and it gets it out of my head if I put it on paper and put it into a book with some fun pictures, and then I can sleep at night instead of having these word swirls and story swirls in my brain at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
So that's it. That's
well, me and all of my friends get it and love it, and I can't wait for that one to come out too. That's so cool. And
thank you.
I think the coming year, I've just talked to Lisa a little bit, and the theme for the coming year is that mature rider, the women in the horse world type of thing. And so all of that that'll fit right in. And what you do is so special. So thank you for sharing it with all of us all the time, but especially for talking to me today and explaining where things are coming from and where you're headed next. That's great.
You are so welcome, and thank you for caring. If I'm a victim of the emperor's new clothes and I believe that I have something to say, but I really don't, nobody thinks so, but at least you made me feel today, or helped me feel, as though I have a story to tell and I have a way to tell it that's interesting. And when I sit down today, you've given me a little vitamin B, and I appreciate that, because we all run around with our self-doubt. So you got me through today, babe.
Well, back at you, because I feel the same way. I always do every time I see you or talk to you. So Candace, where is the best place if people who are listening want to find out? And what's the first point of contact? Where can they find out about you?
I would say my website, which is CandaceWade.com, CandaceWade.com, and peruse that and dance around through the various things and go to archives. Because actually some of my favorite stories was when I was writing for Mature Lifestyles, and I had freedom just to write whatever came into my head, and I love those. Those are some of my favorites, actually. I don't do a lot of Facebooking, because who cares what I'm eating for breakfast, but the Horse Sluts Facebook, I do still, and sometimes Penny does, post there periodically something that I find interesting or rescue, or if I have a story that I think somebody might like, I'll post that. My email address, I believe that's on the Horse Sluts, or a message can be sent. A private message could be sent. I have a tweet thing, but I don't tweet really. I just don't. And my Candace Wade Facebook, it's mine. It's my home. I can say what I want, and I put my political stuff on that. So if somebody is afraid that they're not going to like my political views, or they're brave enough and don't care, and if you don't like it, then don't friend me. That's fine.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So I'm a little careful about that, because people get touchy. But hey, it's my Facebook, and if you don't like it, don't go there.
Mm-hmm.
And unfriend me, please. That's okay. I have enough friends. I'm waiting for one to die before I get a new one.
Be selective. That's right. Oh, I love it.
Especially since I'm becoming a hermit. I'm far less out there than I used to be, and I love my quiet time. So, and that's not really true. I love people. I really do. And I love my friends. But
well, we do all
I guess
need
that
a little
that
bit
would
of
be
that.
the best.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little quiet time is nice. So.
Definitely. Well, and we'll put all of these, of course, in the show notes. But for folks who just listen and are picking up on one of the podcast directories, we just wanted them to be able to listen and think of where they would most like to reach out and find you. So is there anything else you'd like? Anything else you'd like to tell everybody? Anything else that we haven't covered?
The only other thing is, if you've read Horse Sluts and you like it, if you would put a review on Amazon, because the book's on Amazon. If you don't like it, keep it to yourself. If somebody goes ahead and does buy it, if they would put a review, because I like to hear what regular human beings actually feel. And these are people that aren't friends and family that I had to pay to buy the book. Mm-hmm. These are people that are out there that stumble upon it and have enjoyed it. In fact, you had talked about Camden, and I hope to be in your wonderful stop at Camden.
Yes.
And the Hags with Nags. They're such a delightful group of women that I met up at Big South Fork, and we all just sort of seem to understand each other. These are real people that don't have to like it, and people that write and paint and do films and whatever. Yes, we're all full of ourselves, but there's this little quivering mouse inside that it wasn't my husband that wrote the review. It was somebody I don't know.
Yes.
And it sometimes I need a little nourishment. So yes, if somebody would write reads to somebody new and has a review, I would love that. That would be better than Christmas for me.
Very cool. Well, we will definitely put that in the show notes as well as a recommendation for a call to action for sure. So
write a review, unless you don't like it.
Positives.
Keep it to yourself. If you find a comma splice or a page that wasn't right,
Oh, well, Candace, thank you again. We really, really I've enjoyed talking to you today, and we've all enjoyed the book. So I know it's going to be positive reviews for sure.
honey, thank you. And thank you for your time and caring. I really appreciate it. You are delightful. And I'm so glad that I met you. Thank you.
Same here. And I look forward to seeing you in April in Camden, South Carolina. It's going to be fun.
Okay, cool. I actually booked another hotel, so I've got all my hotels booked. Don't tell Lisa. You should start giving me jobs.
Oh, no. I won't say a word. You get to come and have fun.
Don't, it's just between us and your 50 million listeners.
Exactly. So nobody tell Lisa. Oh, wow.
Oh, God. I love it. You know I don't mean that. You know I would sweep floors for that woman. I'll do her windows, anything she wants.
We won't tell her that, though. No windows.
She'll make me do it. I love it. Honey, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, and we'll talk again soon. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye, darling. Bye-bye.
So what an awesome conversation with Candace. And, her personality really shines, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. And she's always just going to be just a big bright spot in this festival. And we're so happy to have her and just so honored to have her as part of the festival. Definitely. And anybody that wants to purchase any of the books, and Candace's book, Horse Sluts, or any of Carly's books, or any of the books that have been part of the EQUUS Film Festival, you can go right to our website and click on the books link, and you'll see all of the books that have been part of the festival, along with a few other interesting titles, and books that the authors have also written. So if they've entered one book, we'll have all of their books available up there, and you can click directly through and purchase the book right there on our website.
Well, thanks, Lisa, and I look forward to our next conversation. We'll be speaking with Carly Cade, and for now, I guess pony on. Isn't that the saying?
Yes, it is. Pony on, and we'll see you next week. Thanks again, Julianne.
Thank you. Talk to you soon.
Please be sure to tune in next week when Julianne and I have another interesting conversation with one of our EQUUS Film and Arts Fest filmmakers, artists, or authors.